And let's go for it. Go.
We're back on the Ride Not Free Lounge, still joined by the best team in radio, and we have someone who's special in the building. She's a former candidate for New York State Senate twice. She's someone who brings a lot of energy and really creative thought to the room and to our world, and she's running for the greatest office in the land, 2028 presidential candidate. Welcome in her maiden voice in Non Free Lounge. Not normal, from her words, Diane Sare. How are you, Diane?
I'm very well, and thank you so much.
Thank you so
really
much.
It's
good.
I appreciate that.
Yes, we appreciate you.
You can
Glad
take
your
them with
husband's
you.
here.
Just fold them up and just put them in your bag and just take them with you.
Big shout to Ahmed who makes this happen. Like I said, my brother from a different mother. I guess people are telling me, Ahmed, people have been telling me we look alike. I've gotten that about 3 other people.
Same barber.
Yeah, same barber. He's undefeated. But Diane, thank you so much for joining us. And again, thank you for putting your hat in the ring to run for president. I know it's not easy, especially in this climate where we hear a lot of the nonsense if somebody just wants to give back and help. So I want to thank you personally for that. But let's start. Burlington, Vermont,
Yeah.
Quaker parents.
Yeah.
Someone who comes from father played trumpet. Me and him would have gotten along together. I was a trombone player.
Oh, me too.
There you go.
That's
we
great.
did
All
that.
the smart people play trombone.
Oh yeah,
Who
that's
carried
exactly
your
6
bag?
and 7 shift.
You carry that big old trombone thing?
Yeah, well, I started on trumpet,
Oh,
actually,
mhm.
and then the kids, I really wanted to play violin.
Right.
And
That's easy to carry.
they didn't have it in my school, so then I played the trumpet because my father did.
Yes.
But then the kids in the trumpet section were mean. They
Oh,
were
yeah,
bullies,
yeah,
and I was
yeah.
shy.
Oh.
And so I found a baritone horn in my grandfather's attic and picked that up. And then I wanted to be a musician. They say, well, you can't play baritone. You have to learn trombone. So I ended up playing
And now
trombone.
you're running for president. Ain't
Yeah.
that something? How the world evolves.
So let's start there. Let's talk about growing up in Burlington. How was life? Because then we think about Vermont as a New Yorker. It's like simple, little quiet, Ben and Jerry's. But talk about life growing up in Vermont.
Well, I actually didn't grow up there. I was there very briefly.
Okay.
But I do want to say something about it because for people to put in perspective, the main reason I'm running, which is that there's no one qualified running, and I, in a sense, have been preparing for this for 38 years. When my father was in medical school, my mother was getting her doctorate or had completed it in biochemistry, but she was a musician.
Right.
So she was working as a church musician. My father was in medical school. My mother, working as a church musician, put my father through medical school because it cost $695 a semester. Okay. Now think about that. Today you can go to school and learn nothing and pay $80,000.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable. So what happened was, although my whole family were Quakers, we moved to we moved to Cleveland, Ohio, where my sister was born. My father was doing his residency there.
Right.
And then he got drafted
Yes.
to go to Vietnam. And many people became Quakers to avoid being drafted. He went, but with the stipulation he would only do medical things, and he ended up doing public health over there. So my sister was born in Cleveland, and then while he was in Vietnam, we ended up moving down to Sandia Base in Albuquerque. So I mostly have memories, a little bit of Cleveland, and then Albuquerque, which I loved.
Yeah.
Actually, I really liked it. Mostly because I like insects and reptiles, and I used to
I hope God you didn't
collect
say no
them.
aliens. Oh, another alien.
No, I love catching horny-toed lizards, and I had a black widow spider pet for a while, and my
you're
parents
dangerous.
and I,
Yeah, wow.
we would stay up late at night and watch the spider kill insects. And
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Oh,
I
boy.
don't know what to say about that, Diane.
Family picnic must have been something, boy.
You don't want to ask. That's what having a biologist mother will do for you.
Again, we're talking to Diane Sare, presidential candidate in our next 2028 election. So growing up in New Mexico, obviously, and coming from family and parents that seem to be givers, how do you look at that from now? You look at the way our world is from a standpoint of how you grew up always giving or extending. Like you mentioned, your father could have used his Quaker background to get out of it. He ran to the fire. How will you portray that now from a political standpoint in our world and what's going on?
Well, I think the Quaker faith had a lot to do with it. One, growing up in the meeting, I remember very vividly in Albuquerque at the Friends meeting, we were always doing things to send food to Africa. So this bothered me that people were starving.
Yeah.
And then later, when I ended up, because my parents both were actually from Maine originally, their families. So after Albuquerque, we moved up to Bar Harbor, Maine. And I just always felt like I wanted to do something to alleviate poverty.
Wow.
I wanted to lead. I wanted to be an orchestral conductor, and found my way to New England Conservatory in Boston.
Yeah.
And
that's where your life changed in so many ways.
yes,
Yes.
exactly, because that's where I ran into Lyndon LaRouche,
Yes.
who was running for president, and I didn't know it, but he was a Quaker from New England. There was a lot, and he actually reminded me so much of my grandfather in certain ways, many similarities. So I ran into his campaign, met my husband, who obviously wasn't my husband then, but
It's worked out.
it worked out. And what happened was I heard LaRouche. He gave a speech. First of all, he was on trial.
Yeah.
They were coming after him big time.
Yeah.
And I had been reading the journals of people like John Woolman, who was a Quaker abolitionist.
Yes.
And he was in jail a lot of the time. So I thought, oh, well, let's see. He's running for president and they're trying to put him in jail. He might be a really good guy. That was my idea of this. And then I heard him speak, and the speech, there were messages sent from people in Peru and people in Senegal, and they were talking about the injustice of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. And, here I am, this kid from little towns, very sheltered, I realized. And I was so naive. I thought that when people were starving, it was because they had an earthquake or a tornado, or it was just some big natural thing.
Yeah.
And then when I heard LaRouche, and he used the word evil, and I'd never heard a political leader use the word evil before, and it hit me from the messages from all these other leaders in these developing countries that there was a deliberate policy to kill people in poor countries, to keep them poor, to starve them. It was such a shock. I remember I had a headache for 3 days after this meeting. I was so disturbed.
Why was it such a shock? Was it because it's just from just your world and your background, like that just seemed unfathomable that people would actually do this purposely to hurt others? Or was it maybe because now it's like somebody was actually talking about it where they brought it to the front line? Was it a little both? Or what?
No, I was that naive. I really couldn't imagine that anyone would want to deliberately harm another person.
Wow.
It was so disturbing. It was just tremendously disturbing to me. And so that's why, and that's really why I decided ultimately to not finish my degree, even though I only had a year left or something.
Right.
I said, I'm leaving the school because the world needs me.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm an American. Our country affects the entire planet.
Yes.
And the poor baby in Malawi who's starving to death, what can they do about it? Not much. But I'm an American. I can do something about it. Yeah. So I felt that I had to do that. And I'll tell you a very ironic part of all this. Many years after I married my husband, we moved to D.C. for 10 years. We were doing a musical drama by a civil rights movement leader, Amelia Boynton Robinson. Yes. So she was a dear friend of ours. We lived in her house for a year. And she wrote a play with 20 African American spirituals in it. And because I had musical training, I had to direct the chorus. So I mentioned to my father, oh, we're doing this play and we're going to do it in Glen Burnie, Maryland. And he says, oh, I did a sit-in at a lunch counter there. And I said, what? My entire life, my father never told me that he was in the civil rights movement.
Wow.
Oh.
That he was doing sit-ins at lunch counters, that he was the treasurer for SNCC at Brown University and invited Martin Luther King to speak there. And this was never brought up.
Y'all killing spiders and y'all putting all these insects, and you mean to tell me
we didn't kill the spiders.
All right, whatever y'all did, but and y'all never he never told you that he was involved with the Martin Luther King civil rights movement?
And then, I think about that year, 1968, right? I was born, all right, now we all know, in 66.
I didn't say it, Diane, you did.
We got to put our hands against him.
Yeah, this was a big year for me, right? Turned 60. So my mother was sort of a right-wing Republican Presbyterian when she met my father. And I remember as a child, when they went to vote, they would always say, we don't know why we're going, we just cancel each other out. So politics was not a topic in my household at all. So I didn't know anything about my father, which I found really funny because it's almost like I'm following in his footsteps, but it never, it was never discussed.
Never found pictures or anything?
No.
Nothing?
No.
Wow.
No.
What do you think, or what is your opinion of what they would think right now of you running for president?
Well, my father's here.
Blessings.
Okay.
And my father, I didn't want to tell him, but I figured he'd end up finding out, so I better tell him.
What is this I'm seeing online?
So when I told my father, he said, well, I guess you're a glutton for punishment.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. You're talking to Diane Sare, presidential candidate, 2020 election. But I want to take a quick break, and I want to come back because seriously, the world we live in is a little bit. You would think somebody would salute and appreciate somebody giving a service, but it seems like we have some mentality with others, and then also to the need of a third party, the need of having somebody I use the term Bloods and Crips and shirts and ties, but that's just me, blue and red. But I think we need a middle ground. And I want to come back, talk about that. Diane Sare, presidential candidate, is Non-Free Lounge. Don't go nowhere.